this video and say that I am sorry if you can hear any background noise. My roommate is doing laundry right now, and I live right next to the laundry room, so if you see me looking over in this direction, it's because all of the books I read this year are sitting next to me, and I also have my iPad sitting here with Goodreads pulled up so that I can see like the books that I read in order of like how I read them throughout the year, and then also like their star ratings. Okay, so a lot of these first few books I read were on my Kindle, which I guess I should start by saying I read 27 books this year, and that's probably one of my lowest reading years I've had in a while. This year just kind of got out of control. There were a lot of different life changes. I was working more hours. I just, school kind of really came in and wrecked me, but so I got my Kindle in August of 2022, and so from the end of August into the start of 2023, I was very heavily reading on my Kindle. So the first book that I read okay, funny enough, the first book that I read is not on my Kindle anymore because I read it through Kindle Unlimited, but it is Punk 57 by Penelope B. Douglas. Punk 57 is like a smutty romance book. I can't really give you much else other than that because I tried to just like forget about it, because it was my first read of 2023, and I did in fact, I think I gave it 2 stars, maybe 1. It really wasn't that good of a book for me. Yeah, I gave it 1.5 stars. So that was not a win for me. The next book that I read again was also on my Kindle, and it was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. That is a YA sad romance book about the 2 main characters, Autumn, and Finny. And I actually quite liked it. I gave it a 3.75 stars, and it was a buddy read with my friend Sarah, who I know will most likely be watching this video. Both her and I loved it. It made us cry. We had such a good time buddy reading it. And there's actually like I don't know what to call it, like a sequel, a prequel. I'm not exactly sure. That the author is writing from Finny's point of view, because If He Had Been With Me is written through represents him, which I know that would never actually happen in real life, but it's very interesting. There's plot twists, there's turns, and I really, really enjoyed it. Next is this book called Call Me Maybe by Stone. This one I actually read through audiobook because it was free on Audible, and I think I was just like doing chores or something and needed an audiobook to listen to because there was no YouTube videos I wanted to watch. Let me look. I gave it a 2-star. I sort of remember this one. That's like my bad character trait, is when I don't really like a book, I kind of just forget about it. Next up was Milkfed by Melissa Broder. Yet again, another like book that I read on the Kindle. I gave it a 3.5 stars, and my review on Goodreads is simply just, I love unhinged women. So this is like basically about Rachel, who is like Jewish, and she has a eating disorder, and it's basically just like a book about her like fighting the eating disorder, going no contact with her family, trying to navigate religion and sexuality, and like, you know, I honestly really, really did like it. I will say it's definitely not for some people, and that's okay. Next up, again, another book I read on my Kindle. We're gonna be making some Kindle sounds for a little bit here. I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, which is a romance book. I gave it 3.5 stars. Then I read Finley Donovan is killing it. I gave this a 3.5 stars, and my review was mom turned hit woman plot slayed. So yeah, that's basically the gist. She's a mom who accidentally becomes a hit woman. Next up was 1,000 Boy Kisses. 1,000 Boy Kisses. And I gave it 3.75 stars with the review of I should have had tissues. That book had me crying like a little baby. Again, another sad YA romance that was like heavily popular. And I quite enjoyed it. It's like basically there's the female main character, and her grandma like tells her to keep a jar of like 1,000 boy kisses. So it's like the kisses that she shares with like the love of her life. Like that's basically the gist, but they're sad and there's like sickness involved. So next up I tried to give Penelope Douglas another try this year, and I read Birthday Girl. 2 seconds. I need a drink. Okay. Very good. Birthday Girl is a little more taboo. It's an age gap romance. But honestly, I remember having a good fun time. And so I'm pretty certain I gave it like a 2.5 stars. So definitely not great. I'm learning Penelope Douglas isn't for me. But Birthday Girl I did have more fun with than Buck 57. Again, on my Kindle. As you can tell, I went through a very strong Kindle phase in the beginning of 2023. I read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. 3 stars. One of my friends really, really loves this book. I think it's like a 5-star read for her. And so she was like, I definitely think you should read it. I definitely think you should. Because she knew that I wasn't really enjoying Penelope Douglas. So she was like, try Allie Hazelwood instead. It was decent. I quite liked it. It definitely wasn't the greatest romance of all time. I think I'm just honestly picky with like my romances. And that's just kind of how it be. But Allie Hazelwood writes romances that are all like the female main character is STEM based. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, definitely give her a try. Okay, hopefully the Kindle tapping was nice, despite me not literally having any of the covers of the books I read because I returned all of them. Now we can actually get into books, physical books that I read. So, hold on, I need to do some rearranging. Okay. So, first physical book of the year was Sadie by Courtney Summers. With the physical books, I will be reading the synopsis on the back for you. So, when popular radio personality West McRae receives a desperate phone call from a stranger imploring him to find a 19-year-old runaway Sadie Hunter, he's not convinced that there's a story there. Girls go missing all of the time. But when it's revealed that Sadie fled home after the brutal murder of her little sister Maddie, West travels to the small town of Cold Creek, Colorado to uncover what happened. Sadie has no idea that her journey to avenge her sister will soon become the subject of a blockbuster podcast. Armed with a switchblade, Sadie follows meager clues helping to lead to the man who took Maddie's life because she's determined to make him pay with his own. But as West traces her path to the darkest, most dangerous corners of big cities and small towns, a deeply unsettling mystery begins to unfold. One that's bigger than them both. Can he find Sadie before it's too late? Alternating between Sadie's unflinching voice as she hunts the killer and the podcast transcripts tracking the clues she's left behind, Sadie is a breathless thriller about the lengths we go to protect the ones we love and the high price we pay when we can't. It will haunt you long after the final page. And that last sentence is not a lie. I constantly think about this book. And I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and like I said, I still think about it to this day. This book literally it lives up here rent free. Okay. If I can recommend this book to any of you, like if any of that sounded like something you want to read, please go read it. I need more people to read this book so that I can talk about it. Simple as that. Okay. So now I'm gonna try and like stack the ones I've gone through over here on this side. Let me put my Kindle back over here because I think we may need her again later. Okay. Next On their first wedding anniversary, Jesse is on an assignment in the islands when his helicopter goes missing over the Pacific. And just like that, Jesse is gone forever. Emma quits her job and moves home in an effort to put her life back together. Years later, now in her 30s, Emma runs into an old friend, Sam, and finds herself falling in love again. When Emma and Sam get engaged, it feels like Emma's second chance at happiness. That is, until Jesse is found. He's alive, and he's been trying to come back home to her all these years. Emma now has a husband and a fiance, but who is her one true love? And what does it mean to love truly? Emma knows she has to listen to her heart. She's just not sure what it's saying. And again, this was another 5-star read for me. So far, every single Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I have read has ended up being 5 stars. Her writing is just like absolutely amazing, and it's like poetic without being too overly poetic, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just have a really, really lovely time every time I read one of her books. So then we go back to my Kindle, where I then read Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Frida McFadden is getting really popular and noticed right now for her works of The Housemaid and The Coworker. I have not read either of those, but she basically just writes these really nice, fast-paced, keep you on the edge of your seat thrillers that are super easy to get through. And Never Lie had me questioning everything. I was really invested and really, really into it. And I gave Never Lie a 3.5 star. Now we get into more physical books. Oh, okay. This is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I don't know if y'all can see that, but this book is tabbed. I think I even have like a key in here that says what everything is for. Let me look. I do. So I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colors to tab this book. So back in the day when I was a kid, I read Percy Jackson. I read the first book, loved it. Read the second book, read the third book, and basically younger me just decided that that was when fantasy was no longer for me. And so I avoided it like the plague. But I decided that 2023 was going to be the year of me getting back into fantasy and giving it another try. So I started with Legendborn by Tracy Dion, which is a YA fantasy about Bree as our main character. And when I tell you this book changed my life. So, after her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies. A secret society of so-called legend-born students that hunt the creatures down. And a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure reveals Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night that her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows that there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. She recruits Nick, a self-exiled Legendborn with his own grudge against the group, and their reluctant partnership pulls them deeper into the society's secrets and closer to each other. But when the Legendborn reveals themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that a magical war is coming, Bree has to decide how far she'll go for the truth and whether she should use her magic to take the society down or join the fight. This book was another 5-star read. I truly think about this series like every day. No matter what I'm doing, somehow, some way, I think about this. I can't explain it. It's just, what a book. So then next up, we have the series after, the sequel after Legendborn. Oh goodness, okay. So, Bloodmarked is the sequel, and I do have the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and it is in hardcover because this one came out like in 2022, like I think towards the end. So when I read Legendborn like last year in 2023, Bloodmark was not in paperback yet. So it is in hardcover. But over there on my bookshelf, I do have Legendborn in hardcover. And then my plan is when Bloodmark is in paperback to buy Bloodmark in paperback. So then I'll have a hardcover set and a paperback set. And I plan to move all my little tabbies from this hardcover into the paperback version. So, anywho, just reader things. So I'm not gonna read the synopsis of this because it does kind of like give away what happens in this first book. But all I can say is this as well was another 5 stars. It changed my life. I read these books, both of them. I think it's like 1,200 pages in literally like 3 days. I was dedicated, okay? They sucked me right in, and that, like, these books are the entire reason why I believe that fantasy is now for me. So, I definitely think if YA fantasy is your thing, if fantasy overall is your thing, please read Legendborn and Bloodmarked because it's life-changing, okay? And I'm a firm believer in that. Gosh, dude, I think about these books literally every day. That also, Bloodmarked was a 5-star read for me. And then my next book I read was on my Kindle again. I'm not gonna bring her back out. We've done enough with her. Gone Girl by Gabi and Flynn was the next book I read, and I actually read this for my college's book club. I honestly, it might be controversial. I like the movie more than the book. I did still give the book 3 stars though. Now we can get into some more physical books. books. After Legendborn, all I could think about was reading more fantasy, but I still was not ready to fully take that jump into a adult fantasy yet. So I stuck with YA fantasy and decided to read the Folk of the Air trilogy. So the Folk of the Air trilogy is by Holly Black, and it focuses around our main character Jude, and then there's also Garden, and it's just like the place of Elfame. And gosh, again, these changed my life. I think about them every day. I'm obsessed with the Folk of the Air trilogy, Folk of the Air and Legendborn. I cannot recommend enough. So first we start with the Cruel Prince. Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous high court of of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, but many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Garden, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. To win a place at the court, Jude must defy him and face the consequences. I can't believe I really said Feyre. I'm in the process of reading the Aquatar series right now, so at least you now can all know that I am getting into adult fantasy. Everybody cheered. Again, when it comes to fantasy books, I can't help myself but to use 8 million tabs to keep track of everything. So, there's the Cruel Prince, then there's the Wicked King, and then there is the Queen of Nothing. All of them are tabbed. It's like looking at all of them together, I'm like, that is insane. That's insane. But I love these books. I love these characters. I think this is such an easy world to get into and love and enjoy, even if fantasy is not quite your thing. I will say, this got 5 stars. This got 5 stars, and this also got 5 stars. My favorite book of the series is The Wicked King. I don't know if that's a majority opinion or not, but that is how I feel. And again, same as Legendborn. I did read these books, the 3 of them, within like 3 days. So, I highly recommend, if you are a reader and these have been on your TBR for a while, this is your sign. This is your sign. This is your sign to go read them. This year. Make it happen. Next, we only have a few more books to go. I read with my friend Abby over the summer. We both decided that it would be fun to buddy read some books together. So our choice of book was Summer, like romance vibes, from Emily Henry. We started with People We Meet on Vacation. Poppy and Alex and Poppy, they have nothing in common. She's a wild child, and he wears khakis. She has sensational wanderlust, and he prefers to stay home with a book. And somehow, ever since a fateful car share home from college many years ago, they are the very best of friends. For most of the year, they live far apart. She's in New York City, and he's in their small town. But every summer for a decade, they have taken one glorious week of vacation together. Until 2 years ago, when they ruined everything. They haven't spoken since. Poppy has everything she should want, but she's stuck in a rut. When someone asks when she was last truly happy, she knows without a doubt that it was on that ill-fated final trip with Alex. And so she decides to convince her best friend to take one more vacation together, lay everything on the table, and make it right. Miraculously, he agrees. Now she has a week to fix everything. If only she can get around the one big truth that has always stood quietly in the middle of their seemingly perfect relationship. What could possibly go wrong? I gave this 5 stars. Bangers, basically. I read bangers in 2023. Next, again, my friend Abby and I decided to read another book together. We decided, okay, let's stick with the theme and read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This one also got 5 stars. This one is, I've only read these 2 Emily Henrys so far. I do have her other 2 on my bookshelf that I want to get to this year. And she also has a new book coming out in April. But Book Lovers is, in fact, my favorite book by her. This sweater, my embroidered sweater, is actually like a reference to Book Lovers. So, Nora Steffen's life is books. She's read them all, and she's not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister, Libby, which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, for the month of August, when Libby begs her for her sister's trip away, with visions of a small-town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine in her own story. But instead of picnics in meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish, brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times, and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they are thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories that they've written about themselves. Charlie Lastra, my book boyfriend. I cannot recommend Emily Henry enough. Then next up we have Alone with You in the Ether. This is my favorite book of 2023 and is probably one of my most favorite books of all time. Alone with You in the Ether is by Olivia Blake, and it's a contemporary love story like no other, exploring the nature of love, what it means to be unwell, and how to face the fractures of ourselves and still love as if we're not broken. So this book honestly changed my life. I know I said a lot of these did, but whereas like the fantasy books changed my life in the way that like now I love to read fantasy, this pulled on my heartstrings. I related to it. I loved it. These characters remain with me every day. The quotes from this book remain with me every day. And again, this one's tabbed in like multiple colors, and it's just like, I don't know how to explain this one, truth be told. I'm not gonna read the synopsis because I feel like the synopsis does not do a good job of like telling people what this book means. So honestly, if this is one like that's been on your TBR, please pick it up, please read it. and I will not take any bad opinions about it. Sorry, I won't do it. Then we cut to Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. So my copy of Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang is actually signed because I went to R.F. Kuang's book tour for this book. I think R.F. Kuang does a really good job of writing a unlikable main character, and it's very modern, and it just like it had me on the edge of my seat. I read it in almost one sitting. So authors June Hayward and Athena Liu were supposed to be rising twin stars, but Athena's a literary darling. June Hayward is literally nobody who wants stories about basic white girls, June thinks. So when June witnesses Athena's death in a freak accident, she acts on impulse. She steals Athena's just-finished masterpiece, an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers during World War I. So what if June edits Athena's novel and sends it to her agent as her own work? So what if she lets her new publisher rebrand her as Juniper Song, complete with an ambiguously ethnic author photo? Doesn't this piece of history deserve to be told? Whoever the teller. That's what June claims, and the New York Times bestseller list seems to agree. But June can't get away from Athena's shadow, and emerging evidence threatens to bring June's stolen success down around her. As June races to protect her secret, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. I'm telling you, had me on the edge of my seat for such an unlikable main character. I was like, what's gonna happen next? And what is the media gonna say? And like, is anybody gonna find out? So highly recommend as well. And honestly, I think you're probably gonna see this in a lot of people's like books read in 2023 or top books of 2023, because it was just an amazing release that year. So and I gave Yellow Face 4 stars. Then we have my last 2 physical books. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, and Dowry of Blood. Aristotle and Dante is like a poetic YA gay like romance. It is beautifully written, and I actually have the special edition of it because I bought it in 2022 during Barnes & Noble's hardcover sale. I gave Aristotle and Dante 4 stars. Then A Dowry of Blood. This is basically about like Constanta, who is like one of the first brides of Dracula, and it basically explores her life becoming a vampire and living with Dracula and like what that means. And again, another poetically written book, and I love the pickled edges. This one also got 4 stars from me. And then lastly, we have 2 more books on the Kindle. So, the last 2 books I read of 2023 were Flawless and Heartless by Elsie Silver. They are the first 2 books of the Chestnut Springs romance, like cowboy romance series. I love both of them. Honestly, I went into Flawless thinking I wasn't going to like it. I've never really experienced cowboy romance, but I ate it up. I actually gave it 4 stars, and then I gave Heartless 3.5. If cowboy romance, smut, if any of that sounds like it might be your thing, up your alley, I would definitely recommend giving them a try. They are some fast-paced reads, and I honestly, I enjoyed them very deeply. So those were the 27 books that I read in 2023. So thank you guys for watching and being here and enjoying my little book ramble, and the book sounds and the Kindle sounds. Hopefully you enjoyed this long form content compared to the shorter form I've been putting out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if book ASMR videos are something that you enjoy, because I would love to make more throughout this year.